Hello everyone, welcome once again to the Performance Centre here at Howley Hall Golf Club in Leeds. I'm Ryan Rastall, PGA professional here and equipment expert for Golfshake.com. If you haven't done already, hit that subscribe button, see loads more content from all of us here at Golfshake to help you play more and play better. I've got two new models of the ST series driver from Mizuno to put through their paces, but before we do that, let's talk about the tech. So these two models, I have the ST-X driver and the ST-Z as well, or ST-Z, depending on what you want to call it. But yeah, they're two very different models, designed to do slightly different things. We can see in the X, we've got slightly more kind of heel bias weighting in there, and in the Z, it's a little bit more towards the low and back kind of position. So we'd expect a bit more draw bias, higher launch and spin characteristics, but plenty of forgiveness in them both. So the key technology that we're seeing in these is the CORTECH Chamber that we've got in here. So basically this is an area of the head that's allowed to flex a little bit more. We've got a TPU material in there to dampen the sound a little bit as well, which again improves the flexion of the sole. So when we don't hit it in the center, when we get it a bit low or in the heel and toe, we're still getting ball speed coming back from the head of the driver. We've got a stainless steel weight in there as well to help reduce the spin, so it just moves that weight a little bit further forward. We've got a forged beta titanium face in there as well to add to the quality of this product, and we all know Mizuno is synonymous with forging products, and this beta titanium forged face is another thing from Mizuno. We know it's going to be really quality, and we know it's going to add to the quality of the driver. We've also got the adjustability in there, so we can move this 4 degrees from the stated loft on the bottom of the golf club. So like I say, I'm going to hit some now in the Performance Centre on the Trackman, get some numbers and show you exactly the difference between these two models. So we're going to start with the ST-X model. So the slightly more draw bias. We've got the weight a little bit more in the heel there of this driver. The shaft I've been sent for this is hazardous green smoke, which is a pretty robust, pretty stiff one, 6.5, so extra stiff. Yeah, in terms of the look, so sitting it down in that address position, it's got that real nice contrast between the black on the top of the head there and the carbon kind of look towards the back of the driver there, which I quite like. It almost reminds me a bit of the Cobra Aerojet, the way that it sits behind the ball, which I quite like. Quite confidence inspiring with quite a bigger footprint. So let's have a bit of a hit of it and see how it goes. Feels really nice and solid off the face, to be honest. Definitely got that carbony kind of sound to it and that crunchier sound than you would get with a, you know, an all metal head basically. But yeah, in terms of first hit and first feel, very, very good. We've now moved on to the ST-Z or ST-Z driver. It looks very, very similar when we sit it in the address position. That carbon kind of look to the top of it again, which, like I say, I quite like. It's quite confidence inspiring in the shape, a bit more rounded than some drivers you'll see out there. But let's hit a couple of shots with it and see exactly how it performs. Does sound a bit different though. Sounds a little bit crunchier and harsher off the face maybe a little bit, but certainly feel wise straight away first hit feels a little bit different and personally a little bit better than the ST-X model that we've just been hitting. So yeah, after hitting this one, I definitely prefer this model. Still getting a little bit too much height for me. We'll see when we have a look at the results overall, but in terms of the feel, the amount of spin that we're getting, the kind of overall really the looks of it and everything, these drivers are really, really good, and certainly ones that you should be considering when you're looking at getting a new driver for 2023. It's maybe a brand that potentially driver wise is not top of our list when we're looking at trying stuff, but certainly feels very forgiving. It's easy to launch, and also the spin is, you know, it's pretty good. I've just lofted this down a little bit, so I've got the 9.5 head here, knocked it down to 8.5, and it seems to have controlled the flight a bit better. Did exactly the same with the ST-X model as well, but just felt that was a little bit, I don't know, a little bit uncontrollable. This one seems to go a little bit straighter, but also the spin is more like what I'm used to seeing. So it'll be interesting when we have a look at the figures in a second. So let's take a little bit of a look at the data after hitting the ST-Z and ST-X drivers from Mizuno. We can see in terms of the carry distances, they're within kind of 2 yards of each other, so they're pretty close. And total distance, 294, 293. So negligible really, the difference between the two. I would say that on hitting them, the ST-Z kind of felt that little bit nicer to hit maybe. ST-X, with it being that bit more draw bias, was harder to hit straight, I found, and certainly that you can see on the dispersion here, it's a little bit wider dispersed than the ST-Z. It's actually closer than I thought it was going to be honest. But in terms of the ball speed, we're getting a little bit higher with ST-Z, but I was getting a bit more club speed with that. I don't really know why. You can see the ST-X, the spins actually come out quite a bit lower, and I think, you know, looking at the ball flights, they seem to look just that little bit lower when I was hitting them, and but we can actually see launch angle. They're within a degree of each other, but the dynamic loft I was hitting them with, bearing in mind both of these were set at exactly the same loft, is just coming in that little bit lower as well. Like I say, I think that would be the one if I was playing, that's the one I would use, the ST-Z. The difference is fairly negligible between the two. As we always say, you need to go and get fitted properly. Many of you will be looking at the, you know, the kind of market leaders in drivers, your TaylorMade, your Callaways of this world, and probably going straight out and trying those drivers without really considering Mizuno. And they're definitely a brand you should look at, as well as some of the others we've tested. You know, we've Wilson and Srixon that we've hit shots with this year. They're definitely brands that you should be considering when looking for a driver, as well as some of those obviously top brands like your Ping and Titleist too. Very, very good driver, looks great behind the ball, and in terms of the sort of feel as well, very, very good. Make sure you go to a proper Mizuno fitting day, or go see a PGA pro that stocks Mizuno and knows what they're doing when it comes to custom fitting. But we can see there, they're very, very good drivers. They're very comparable to anything that we've tested so far this year. It's just me that's not swinging quite as well as normal today, but in terms of being able to compare the two, they're very, very similar in terms of their performance. I would have expected the X to be a bit more left when I'm hitting it, but that draw bias element certainly didn't seem to be presenting itself to me when I'm hitting it. But also, it has to be said, the shaft that we tried in these is very, very strong, so it's probably a shaft that's very difficult to get moving left anyway. And certainly anything over the 290 to 300 mark is a pretty good tee shot for most people. So yeah, very, very good performance. But like I say, if you've got any comments on these, please drop them below. We'll love answering your questions and getting your feedback on these. If you want to know anything more about custom fitting in general, or the driver that you have, please ask away. There's lots of questions that we love to answer as well. And keep watching all of our content here on the Golfshake YouTube channel to help you play more and play better. See you all soon.